What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about vectors in Rust. Arrays are one of the most essential complex data types in programming. Complex meaning not complicated, complex meaning they're not singular pieces of data, they're multiple pieces of data strung together in some certain way. They also get a bit complicated in low-level languages, mainly because of memory allocation. When you're allocating an array, what you want to do is have it all contiguous within memory, meaning like all of the elements within the array are side by side within memory. But if your array can grow or shrink over time, that gets complicated because you have to allocate more memory if it grows and deallocate memory if it shrinks. Memory allocation means arrays of variable size can cause issues. You've got use after free issues where a piece of data within an array might be decided to be like unused, so you just kind of don't care about the values within that piece of data anymore, but for some reason a user is able to get access to that data anyways, causing problems. You've also got the typical allocating over the ends problems where you've got stack overflows because you've got an array that is a specific type or a specific size within memory, and you can allocate over that size. Garbage collection is a way that some programming languages try to fix this, where the runtime will essentially clean up all of these arrays over time, but that also can cause some pretty significant performance problems. You kind of get the picture. There are lots of complications here. Because Rust is awesome, they have found a solid way around all of this stuff with vectors. Now, I'll level with you, I don't exactly understand how vectors work under the hood to solve all of these problems. That's an area that I plan on researching later on tonight. But they have found a solid way around all of this stuff, and vectors really are cool. They've got a lot of features within them that kind of make them really easy and fun to use. Rust vectors are variable length arrays, like we've been talking about. They're strictly typed, which is good because you should never create mixed type arrays ever. Please don't ever create mixed type arrays. Please God, this creates so many problems. And if you create mixed type arrays, you're only going to run into issues, and you should never do this. Please, please, please. Anyways, you can create a vector like so. This is a basic way to create a static size and static membered vector, but you can change it because we declared it as mutable. This creates a vector of a fixed length with fixed members. You can also just declare an empty vector and add stuff to it later. So this just declares an empty vector of I32s. Vectors follow the push pop verbiage as well, which is awesome, and I love it. So if you want to add something to an array, you can do so using push. So this just adds 15 to the end of the array, which again is awesome because once you're iterating over stuff, push and pop make it really easy to never have to deal with an array that is empty and you don't know it during runtime. You can also do it with indexes like you're used to. So we can set the to index within this array equal to 3. Again, if you've dealt with arrays in any other language, this is the typical way that you will deal with them. Rust vectors can also handle iteration. This is one of the things that you kind of start getting into the quirks with Rust about, and it's also one of the things that I love the most about Rust vectors. Iteration, you have to explicitly state that you are trying to mutate things. I have also just noticed that there's a bug in my code that we'll talk about here in a second. So if you're seeing it and banging your head against the keyboard, don't worry, I am too. So within this first for loop, we've got for item in x.iter_mute. This means we can mutate the items within our array. The bug that I'm talking about is that I actually mutate everything before the print, so you won't actually see the mutated versions of this. Anyways, you are in fact mutating this stuff. We're multiplying each item within the array by 2. So you can also create immutable vectors. That's what we're seeing within that next for loop there. We are creating an immutable vector implicitly because everything is implicitly immutable within Rust, and we are iterating over that. If you see the commented out code, that wouldn't work. It's because we would be trying to mutate something within an immutable array, which is, again, I think it's awesome because you always want to make your devs think. I like the idea of immutable by default because it requires the developer to think about, hey, should I even make this mutable? Should I ever have a circumstance where this data should be changed? If so, how is it going to change? Making devs think is good because we don't want to think. We want to avoid thinking if at all possible. So whenever you make us think like this, it's almost always a good thing. That's about it. I'll be doing these mini Rust lessons fairly frequently as I learn more about Rust and find things that I like about it. Vectors are just kind of one of those things. That's about it. Take it easy. Peace.